Good afternoon, Ambassador Negroponte, Governor Bryan, distinguished guests, my dear family, my wife Angela, Morgan, Hannah, and Lauren, who's watching from college, and friends and allies listening and watching around the world. We gather here today as an interested maritime community, as American citizens, and as a collective body of people who care deeply about the maritime industry. We are guided by the creed to honor the mariner and to give back to an industry that has provided wealth and prosperity to our nation throughout the centuries. Today, we gather to acknowledge the significant role of the maritime trade and commerce industry for the United States and to lay bare the challenges we face as a nation. The revitalization plan for U.S. maritime trade and commerce and strategic competition is ultimately about providing the United States with the tools to build, promote, and maintain a rules-based order on the high seas, and to reemerge as a competitive maritime nation. The plan recognizes that maritime commerce can lead the way towards economic success, peaceful and meaningful trade, and commercial opportunities that are driven through strong and verifiable commitments towards environmental, social, and governance standards now and well into the future. This project isn't going to be easy. We will need to come together as one community, one nation, if you will, as common citizens, as mariners, as shippers, as investors and bankers, as trade partners, as manufacturers and retailers alike, and most importantly, through the full support and participation of a harmonized government establishment. Together, we can and must collectively work towards improving our maritime industry and making the United States a powerful maritime nation once again. Our collective commitment to such an endeavor is evident in our connection to the sea. It was President John F. Kennedy who said, "I really don't know why it is that all of us are so committed to the sea, except I think it's because in addition to the fact that the sea changes, the light changes and ships change, it's because we came from the sea. We all came from the sea. And it is an interesting biological fact that all of us have in our veins the same exact percentage of salt in our blood that exists in the ocean. And therefore, we have salt in our blood, in our sweat, and in our tears. We're tied to the ocean, and when we go back to the sea, whether it's to sail or just simply watch it, we're going back to whence we came. I stand before you today as a humble mariner with a mission to give back to the sea, to give back to an industry that afforded me the opportunity to earn a living, raise a family, and to educate other mariners to do the same. It's time for all of us to give back and ensure that others have access to the same opportunities that we had. Those opportunities simply do not exist today as they did just decades ago. It saddens me to say that today, America is no longer a significant maritime nation in its current form. U.S. commercial vessels constitute just 0.4% of the global fleet. U.S. shipbuilding accounts for 0.1% of the global fleet, and America is 99.5% reliant upon other countries to move our own goods. That's 0.4% owned, 0.1% built, and less than 0.5% under our direct influence. Our nation lacks a resilient, secure, and technologically enabled maritime blockchain and supply chain that leaves us susceptible to extreme market volatility and competitive disruption through normalized distribution channels that we have little to no control over. Complex systems disincentivize ownership of vessels operating under the current U.S. flag, and basic business complexities hinder our ability to take calculated risks to invest and build maritime capacity that our nation and our economy so desperately needs. This plan changes that. To think, our highly experienced and accomplished Navy is #1 in the world, and yet our commercial maritime merchant fleet is just 21st in the world. These statistics are bleak, and there is much that has to be done, and there's much that's been forfeited, but of greater significance is what we have lost. We have lost the ability to independently control our nation's economic destiny through strategic competition. Without an active plan, we have lost our ability to directly influence the actions of those that trade internationally across the oceans, and here within our own ports. This is a jarring and stark realization. Today, we gather to discuss this plan during a period of intense upheaval and change. While the world has been dramatically affected by a disruptive global pandemic and faces ongoing impact of rapidly changing climate and natural disasters, we must also navigate through a diverse array of uncertainties that fuel social unrest, aggressive behaviors by foreign powers that are threatening peace at home in Europe and in the Far East. And while we navigate through this change and adapt to the ambiguity, we must hearken back to this one simple premise, that every great nation was built upon its maritime trade and commerce. Against this backdrop, and in this context, we must face a renewed courage, specific challenges of the past that have continued into the present and threaten to dominate our future. These challenges must be understood before they can be overcome. And before we progress to what shall be, we must first acknowledge with clarity and honesty as to what is. America has lacked in strategic urgency and clarity of vision in our maritime industry, and we have watched it slowly diminish over the last 75 years. In doing so, we have lost one critical characteristic, a fundamental quality that has been the North Star of this great nation ever since it was founded. We have lost our ability to lead by the best of example in the very industry that built this nation. We must lead with vision. We must lead with purpose. To actively lead, we must do so in a courageous fashion that rejects what is expedient and fiercely pursues what is right. The time is now for the United States to demonstrate creative, values-driven, and effective leadership in the global maritime community that is driven by principles and ethical engagement. We must lead with drive to incentivize those who want to operate their ships and move their cargo through an honest and transparent system. The time is now for a rational, pragmatic, and highly strategic plan. The time is now for us to roll up our sleeves and go to work. Now is the time to act, and act we shall. America shall be the leader in global maritime trade and commerce once again. Today, in this very room, we will perform a simple and powerful act, an action that dutifully acknowledges the chapters of the recent past, resolutely counters the complexities of the present, and ably prepares us to capitalize on the opportunities of the future. We have heard the eloquent testimony of Governor Bryan and the uniqueness of the significance of the U.S. Virgin Islands and how these endeavors will transform local Caribbean communities throughout the greater Caribbean region. It is fitting that one of the founding fathers of the United States of America, the man who created the United States Coast Guard, the service where many of our team have served, inspired us to reach out to the U.S. Virgin Islands for support. History dutifully records that the USVI served as the childhood home of Alexander Hamilton, and like Hamilton, Governor Bryan and his team responded. This association is momentous, guided by the providential foresight of history. We end up exactly where Hamilton's intellectual journey began, as if history itself was saying, this is what shall be. We therefore wholeheartedly embrace the notion and recognize the historical significance of the United States Virgin Islands as the most appropriate host to some of the core tenets of this revitalization plan. The significance of a new American maritime flag, ship registry, and transshipment hub extends beyond the Caribbean, however. These endeavors and the rest of the plan will establish a highly transparent and rules-based maritime system and purposefully guide the practices and processes of global trade entering the United States. The USVI flag will be defined by conscientiousness, not convenience. World-leading standards will be implemented in quality, operational excellence, and sustainability. All U.S. flag vessels will adhere to new environmental and efficiency practices that reduce their impact on fragile ecosystems and ensure their carbon footprints are measurably reduced and eliminated over time. We seek Congress's support in these initiatives through the establishment of an incentives based program for US VI flag vessels who maintain the highest compliance evaluations. Let all know who ship cargo, sustainability has a new ally, an open international USVI flag to carry your shipments on the cleanest, most responsible, and transparently operated vessels in the world. A new era has begun. Let all that ply the seas, the mariners and seafarers who will be serving on these vessels know you have a new and committed ally, a registry that will work alongside you to help develop your careers, provide better maritime education and training tools, and a certification system that supports you to assist bringing the industry into a higher operational standard. Know this, we will come to work each day knowing that you, the mariners and seafarers, are as high a priority as anyone. This new registry draws on the inspiration from America's global leadership during the pandemic. The United States did not hesitate in facilitating crew transfers for international mariners, facilitating vaccines for foreign mariners when they came to our shores. The way our nation quietly led this humanitarian effort is a reflection of the decency and gratitude of America's people towards international mariners and seafarers for their hard work and sacrifice. A Caribbean transshipment hub would provide the opportunity to increase cargo security and visibility of global trade, and is specifically designed to bring short and long-term economic benefits to the local region, our trading partners, and the mainland of the United States. The hub will be built using creative design principles, drawing inspiration from the pioneering work of our international colleagues and structures commonly found in nature. The hub will use the latest technologies to reduce inefficiencies and employ a range of innovative techniques to process cargo in a safe, secure, and transparent manner. The plan has 6 comprehensive strategies, and each of the strategies will be discussed in details during today's forum, as well as in the subsequent weeks and months to follow. But know this full well. Today, we will not leave these mere theoretical talking points to be endlessly debated with no measurable evidence of change or action. We will rapidly move to seek and initiate them into production as time is of the essence. Let it be known, today is the official launch of this plan, but I can humbly assert that efforts to achieve all 6 of these strategies that you will learn about today have begun. In closing, Ambassador Negroponte, Governor Bryan, distinguished guests, family members, friends, allies, the revitalization plan for the U.S. maritime trade and commerce and strategic competition is a bold declaration and an impassioned call to action. The United States, in close collaboration with our allies and those of good intent, shall establish these creative and strategic endeavors to redefine the functions of global maritime trade and commerce. With the partnership of those joining us here today, and together with the relevant U.S. agencies, the assistance of the international maritime community, and close collaboration with the good people of the Virgin Islands, this is what shall be. Thank you for your time and being here.